Hi, if you want to watch exclusive content with hot girls that you won't watch on YouTube, namely where Naruto roasts Kushina and Mikoto and many other hot girls without restrictions, then visit my Boosty channel at the link in the description.
5 years after the Nine-Tails attack on Konoha. It was a normal, serene evening in Konoha. Children were begging their parents for money for sweets, and some shinobi were going out for a drink after a successful mission. Everything seemed fine, but not for a 5-year-old boy with blonde hair and blue eyes, who was chased into an empty alley by 3 drunk shinobi. Naruto was hated by the entire village from the moment he was born. The boy didn't understand why he was beaten half to death almost every day. Why he was called a monster and a demon. He didn't even know these people, let alone that he hadn't harmed them. The boy didn't know the names of his parents, or that the strongest of the 9 Bijou was sealed inside him. Everyone in the village hates him, except for the 3rd Hokage and old man Tuchi, the cook at Ichiraka Ramen. Naruto is kicked out of all the stores, so he can't buy healthy food, and he only eats ramen, and this food can't be called healthy. He lives in a 2x2 meter room in an old dormitory. Well, you can't call his life sweet. The boy wouldn't have gone outside today if the punks from the academy hadn't been pounding on the door. He was dressed in black shinobi pants and a white t-shirt. Uzumaki quickly jumped out the window and ran away in an unknown direction to himself. When drunk shinobi cornered the poor boy. "Well, where are you going to run now, demon? That's it. Now you'll pay for everything you've done, asshole." The 3 shinobi burst out laughing and started kicking and punching him, and not too weakly. W for what? What, cough? Cough. Did I do to you? The boy croaked, almost crying and coughing up his own blood. For what, you say? Because of you, my brother died. The first one said angrily and hit him in the stomach with all his might. Because of you, my father died, you freak. The second one shouted and took out a kunai, throwing it at Naruto. Since he was drunk, he couldn't hit the target exactly, but he made a deep cut on the boy's left temple. A lot of blood flowed, apparently the shinobi hit an artery. Not even a minute passed before the boy lost consciousness, and the bloody puddle grew larger. The ninjas were seriously scared. They quickly ran away, leaving the little child to bleed to death. He would have died like that, in this dark, deserted alley, if an ash-haired shinobi with a mask covering half his face and a protector pulled down over his left eye hadn't passed by, reading a small book with an age restriction of +18. He would have passed by if he hadn't smelled the sharp smell of blood. When he saw a small boy lying in a huge pool of blood, the stranger ran up to him like a bullet. Recognizing him as a Jinchuriki, he checked the victim's pulse and, feeling something, quickly picked him up and carried him to the hospital. After Naruto lost consciousness. When Uzumaki woke up, he found himself in a dark corridor with ankle-deep water. It was very dark, cold, and damp. The boy did not want to lie in such disgusting dampness. He stood up, looked around and realized that he had no choice but to go forward. He walked for quite a long time, but then a dim light appeared. After walking a couple more steps, Uzumaki found himself in a huge hall, with a huge golden cage, in which 2 scarlet eyes with a vertical pupil were burning. Naruto wasn't scared at all. He wondered who the owner of those eyes was. He approached the cage almost closely, when he almost got caught in huge and very sharp claws. Fortunately, Naruto managed to jump back at the last moment. The claws slowly clanged on the floor, returned to the cage. So this is my Jinchuriki? I was sealed into such a trifle? This is a disgrace for the great 9-tailed demon fox, Kyubi. The voice that the demon began to speak with broke into a scream. It was filled with hatred and complete contempt for the guest who had come here. Naruto even jumped back from the cage and fell. And then the boy understood those last words that the fox said. So that's why everyone hates me, despises me, beats me, calls me a demon. The blonde realized, because of him. He said out loud. It was you who attacked the village 5 years ago? Tell me, did you do it of your own free will? The question was unexpected for Kyubi. The fox expected something like, it's because of you, damn fox, or damn you fox, it's all your fault. But the demon never expected that. And to be addressed as you. Strange and very interesting. Well, yes, it was I who attacked the village and destroyed everything there. growled the fox, carefully watching the boy's reaction to such a statement. Is this of your own free will? He asked the same question. Grr. No. I was subdued by that damned Madara with his damned Sharingan. The fox finally squeezed out the word subdued with great difficulty. Of course, for his demon fox to be subdued by a human. Shame. Listen, kid, give me this piece of paper and I will take revenge on everyone who offended you, the fox said with a sly grin. This is not necessary, I do not want revenge. Moreover, if I let you out, you will be hunted. It will be safer if you stay in me, Uzumaki said calmly and with a smile. What remains in you? Yes, you will be slapped by the first comers. You are a weakling, a worthless thing. The demon wanted to anger his Jinchuriki. Well, if that's the case, then help me become strong. By the way, I forgot to introduce myself, my name is Uzumaki Naruto. And what is your real name, Kyubi? That's a nickname given to you by people, isn't it? The boy asked, smiling brightly, as if he was talking about candy. To say that Lisa was surprised by this would be an understatement. He's a smart one. And I'll really feel safer in him. And there's something about the boy himself. Uzumaki. Interesting. I'd like to become his friend, Kyubi thought with a sad smile. So be it. It's boring as hell here anyway. My name is Kurama, the fox answered, as if he was doing you a favor, but that was not the case. I will help you become stronger, that is, Kurama said with a grin. Thank you very much, Kurama-san. Can I ask 2 more questions? Naruto asked happily. Go ahead. The fox said indifferently. The third one told me that my parents died on the day of the attack. Do you know who they are? The boy asked sadly and with a little hope. The fox thought. What bastards? They didn't even say who his parents were. I would have torn them apart. Well, yes, I know. Your mother is Kushina Uzumaki, and your father. Minato Namikaze. And, the fox hesitated, I killed them, forgive me, Kurama finished bitterly. Naruto lowered his head, and a single tear rolled down his cheek. He was barely holding back from crying. In the end, he pulled himself together. Thank you, Kurama-san. And also, how do I get back? He asked, happy about how good his parents were. You can just call me Kurama, and when you go out, just imagine yourself going out the door. Said the fox and lay down to sleep. A couple of seconds later the blonde disappeared, and the fox opened one eye and mentally asked himself, I wonder what awaits him next. And again he closed that eye, already falling asleep. Naruto opened his eyes and the first thing he saw was a white ceiling cracked in some places. And there was also the smell of medicine, which meant that he was in the hospital he didn't like so much. Naruto often ended up in the hospital, well of course, they beat him up almost every day, that's all he spends there. One of the main reasons why he doesn't like the hospital is that there was no proper treatment anyhow, if he falls no one will help him, and they won't give him a glass of water. Naruto stood up and checked the wound on his temple, it healed overnight, that can't be, so deep and so fast, although, of course, there is a fox in him. He wasn't going to stay long, so he quickly changed into his clothes, they turned out to be clean, although they were covered in blood. Did they really take pity and decide to wash it? The blonde thought in surprise. Without thinking twice, he jumped out the window and ran home, which you couldn't even call a home, although it was clean there, but the size, there was no room to turn around. Running home under looks full of hatred and contempt that say. Aren't you dead yet? I wish I could bleed to death in some alley, demon. But Naruto didn't pay attention to them. Having run home, he sat on the bed and thought about how to get there, to the cage, the answer came by itself. Imagine this place, a rather familiar voice sounded in his head. Naruto did so, and now he stands in front of a cage in which sits a huge red fox with 9 tails and scarlet eyes, but no longer full of hatred but interest. Hello Kurama, said the blonde in anticipation that training would soon begin, but he knew perfectly well that first he would have to read again, studying the world of shinobi. Well, hello, I understand that you know that we won't be learning cool techniques right away, the fox said mockingly. Yeah, Naru said with a doomed look. Don't be gloomy, There will still be a couple of training sessions, the fox said with a smile on his face, pardon me, on his muzzle. Really? Naruto said hopefully. True, true. First you need to feel the chakra, for this you need concentration, go to the farthest training ground. Okay dash. When Naru came, he did everything the fox said, sat in the lotus position and began to meditate. 25 minutes passed and voila. Uzumaki felt the flow of chakra. Excellent. So fast for a 5-year-old. So, next you need to learn one technique, it will help you a lot. It's called shadow cloning. You need to create a copy of yourself, put your fingers in a cross and concentrate your chakra. Forward. Half an hour had passed before Naruto had been producing weak clones, but the first good clone lasted for a minute. Not bad. I think the seal is interfering with your concentration, go into your subconscious, the fox wanted to test his guesses. Do you see the seal on your stomach? Kurama asked. Yes, the boy answered, lifting his t-shirt. The spiral is surrounded by 8 symbols, cover it with blood 6. It will improve our mental connection and will not interfere with concentration, understand? The fox explained and threw the blonde a shard of glass so that he could cut his finger. I wonder where he got the glass from. Of course, without further ado, Naru cut his finger with glass and smeared the symbol with blood, it only flickered and that's it. Naruto looked at Bijou with a questioning look. Everything is fine, now nothing is interfering with your concentration, and the fox closed his eyes. Uzumaki returned to reality and folded the seal, concentrated chakra, and the training ground was filled with hundreds of his copies. The blonde was very surprised, because he had just been able to create one clone for a minute, and now there were hundreds of them and they were standing calmly without dissipating. Naruto mentally yelled at the fox. Kurama, have you seen how many of them there are? He yelled at the subconscious level so much that the fox jumped up. Dubina, don't yell like that, I was actually sleeping. Hugh also yelled. Well, I'm sorry. Well, that's it, 100 clones, the blonde said proudly. Cool. You'll need them, so dispel them now, leaving only one, the Ninetales gave orders. Yes. Uzumaki answered briskly. Send the clone to walk around Konoha so that no one suspects anything, the fox said seriously. Great advice. Done, Naruto said. Now go to the library, and I'll think of something here, Kurama gave his last command. Naruto did just that, went to the library, only to be met with hateful glances from people. When he arrived, the librarian looked at him with contempt but said nothing. He's here, Naruto said. Now listen, I've made a plan for your training for 4 years, after these trainings you're going to the academy, so here it is. 1. Read all the books from the library. 2. Physical training. 3. Walking on different surfaces. 4. Throwing kunai and shuriken to perfection. 5. Learn transformation. 6. Techniques of father and mother. 7. Elemental techniques. 8. Taijutsu. 9. Kenjutsu. 10. And 1 ritual. That's it, we need to finish within this deadline. When you go to the academy there's nothing to learn anyway, after classes you'll work as a mercenary. And by the way, the most unpleasant part is that you'll have to wear an idiot mask. Well, do you agree? Asked the fox, pleased with his work. The list is certainly long, but good. Playing the role of a fool, but having such power, wonderful, I agree. Naruto exclaimed joyfully in his subconscious. Then let's get started, the fox bared his teeth in his subconscious. It's been 4 years since I started training. Naruto has changed, both in strength and appearance. Naruto used to have stripes on his cheeks, but now they are gone. This is because of the ritual that Kurama spoke about, they are because of the fox, so to speak, distinctive. A trait that all Jinchuriki have. Pie. I'll tell you about the ritual later. His hair also grew, well, like Minato's, and he's dressed in dark blue shinobi pants, bandaged at the bottom, regular shinobi sandals, a mesh t-shirt, not tight, a hooded sweatshirt with blue stripes, again, like his father's, only his were green. A copy of Minato. But Naruto had to wear a powerful henge to maintain the role of a fool. And in public he looked stupid, an orange jumpsuit and... Well, like in the anime, you get the idea. Naru is always a hooligan, or rather, his clone, which he specially creates for this. Let's say a few little things that he learned during these 4 years. 1. Automatically can walk on different surfaces. 2. Special taijutsu fox. 3. Learned all of Minato and Kushina's techniques, barriers, Uzumaki seals, Rasengan, Hiroshin, and more. 4. Several dozen elemental, secret. 5. With the help of clones I read the Konoha library, and a couple of other countries. 6. Throwing shurikens and kunai, like Itachi. 7. Kenjutsu is good. 8. Reincarnation. 9. Good physical fitness. Today was the day of entering the academy. Everyone entered, there was no particular difficulty in this. Naruto played the role of an idiot perfectly, everyone was 100% sure that he was an idiot, and no one had any suspicions that the nature of "I'm an idiot" is a mask. Naruto passed the exam like the others. After the academy, he went home, ate a bowl of ramen, and then went into his subconscious to see his best friend. In his subconscious, he was without a henge and was sitting on the head of a huge red fox with 9 tails, lying on the grass under a tree in the sun. Kyuubi was no longer in the cage after that ritual. The fox opened his eyes and looked displeasedly at his impatient Jinchuriki. "Kurama, you said that after entering the academy I will work as a mercenary, right?" The blonde asked, remembering that conversation where Kurama mentioned work. "Yeah," yawning, "but keep in mind that mercenaries kill, and it doesn't matter if it's a child or a woman, you'll kill whoever the customer wants," the fox said gloomily. "I know. But it's my business whether to accept the order or not," Naruto said calmly. "In principle, yes. So, now you create an improved clone and leave it to play its role, and you yourself get ready, take dark clothes, a mask and scrolls with the rest." The fox gave the order and threw the Jinchuriki out of the subconscious. "There you go, Fleeridin Rug, you threw me out of your own subconscious," Uzumaki muttered and began to get ready. When Naruto got ready, he created a clone and sent it to play his role. It was 3 o'clock in the afternoon and I needed to get through the gate unnoticed. Naruto hid his presence as much as possible. It was no problem to deceive the guards, but Anbu was another matter. A small plan appeared. Naruto created a couple of clones and quietly sent them around the corner of the nearest house. They made a small rumble there, one guard went to check. 5 minutes have passed. "He's been gone for a long time, I'll go check." The second guard also went there, a loud bang was heard. The Anbu decided to check and saw 2 shinobi lying unconscious on the ground. While they were distracted by the guards, Naruto passed the gate like a shadow. Then he went to the nearest trading town to find a caravan that needed good protection. After 2 hours of moving through the trees, Naruto arrived in the land of waves. There was always a lot of fog here, and this was a plus for bandits, so the owners of the caravans hired a lot of security. Naruto was dressed in black shinobi pants, a mesh t-shirt, a black vest with a collar and on top of that a dark cape with a hood, and on his face was a white marble mask with small slits for the eyes. Above the left slit was a red sign, http://lisaloga.ru/upload/wiki/tad8.jpg. The residents looked at him with suspicion, but said nothing. Naruto was looking for a suitable caravan that goes the longest way to Konoha. He didn't have to search for long, this caravan was just about to leave, all that was left was to negotiate with the owner. Naruto approached the guards to ask where he could find the owner. The guards were 2 thugs with naginatas. "Hello, can you tell me where I can find the owner of this caravan?" the boy asked politely. "Ha, you look like a shinobi. Do you really want to guard this caravan?" one of the thugs said mockingly. Apparently, they were surprised that a child was asking about the owner. "Yes, even though I'm a child, I'm not weak," the boy said firmly. "Ahaha, really?" the second one laughed. "Well, if you ask so, then I'll take you." "Thank you," said the boy. The owner was not far from the caravan. He was dressed expensively, but not like a king. He was about 48 years old. He was talking to some acquaintance of his. "Hello Yusu-san," the thugs bowed. "This kid wants to guard your caravan." Yusu waved his hand, showing that they were free. When the guards left, the owner said, "Aren't you a bit small to protect against dangerous criminals?" Yes, this man was apparently also surprised. Just right, the boy said with a smile, although the smile was not visible because of the mask. I'm not sure you can protect me, Yusu said reproachfully. Then, let's do it this way, you take me as a guard, if bandits attack, you look at my abilities and think about whether to pay me or not, and if they don't attack, then you won't pay, okay? The boy made his proposal. We have a deal. Then we need to introduce ourselves. I'm Yusu Reko, the man introduced himself. And Uzumaki began. Listen, you shouldn't say your real name, the fox advised. The blonde chuckled to himself. Kirigaya Kazuto, the first thing that came to Naruto's mind. Okay, follow me, my caravan is already leaving, said the owner and walked towards the caravan. 20 minutes had passed since the beginning of the journey, there was nothing to do and Naruto remembered what happened half a year ago. Flashback. In Naruto's subconscious, he stands in a clearing in front of a fox. Remember I told you about the ritual? The fox said. Uzumaki nodded. So the essence of this ritual is the close connection of our souls. In other words, I will become your guardian, the fox smiled. A keeper? And what does that give? Asked the blonde. Well, it will be 3 times harder to pull me out of you, my chakra will not harm you, I will be able to leave you in the form of a ladder, but if I want, I will enter my full form and also, your sight, hearing, smell and speed will become much sharper, Kurama said proudly. Yes, and you will also be able to turn into a fox. Cool. But what do you need for this ritual? Asked the blonde. This ritual needs to be carried out in reality and it requires a lot of your blood, the fox regretted to his Jinchuriki. End of flashback. Naruto was pulled out of his memories by Kurama's voice. Hey! Can you even hear me? The fox was already shouting. Huh? Yes, what did you say? The blonde asked. The criminal set up an ambush a kilometer away from us. If you hadn't been flying in the clouds, you would have felt it yourself, the fox reproached his friend. I see, that means we have the money in our pockets, Uzumaki smiled. Naruto stood up from the dirty wooden floor he was sitting on, he was in the last cart, Yusu didn't take the boy seriously, so he sent him to the end. The caravan was passing through a dense forest. Uzumaki jumped out of the caravan unnoticed, since the cart was moving slowly. Jumping off was not difficult. Then Naruto formed a seal of concentration and under a splash of blue chakra he turned into a medium-sized yellow fox with a fluffy tail, blue eyes with a vertical pupil and long ears very similar to Kurama. Having determined the exact location of the bandits by smell, he headed in their direction. Arriving at the place Naruto saw 7 people, 4 of them were shinobi no higher than genin level and the other 3 were thieves who possessed the knowledge of students in the shinobi academy, he determined this by their chakra size. They wanted to stop the caravan of suddenly fallen trees and attack the wagons. Naruto decided to wait, because he had a deal with Lord Yusu that if he saw his abilities and recognized him as strong, he would pay. And here the caravan appeared, the bandits began to act, with explosive seals they felled 4 trees, which just blocked the path of the cart. At first the criminals began to throw kunai and shurikens, but all of them were repelled by senbons that appeared from nowhere, this alerted them. Soon, a 9-year-old boy in black and a white mask with a red sign appeared from behind a tree. Yusu Ryoko was in the first carriage and he recognized this boy as Kazuto, Naruto, and was very surprised. Naruto without further ado took out a knife sadface http://iua/photo/images/blog/6/17316_f2111319.jpg, on the handle of which a steel fishing line was tied. Uzumaki threw the knife at one of the bandits, he dodged by simply tilting his head to the right, he was about to say something, as the fishing line stuck to his neck, and a lightning discharge went along it, which fried the poor guy from the inside. He was standing on a tree branch, so he fell loudly to the ground, silence reigned. And suddenly the shinobi rushed towards Uzumaki with a scream, apparently he was a friend of the deceased, and other bandits hurried after him. Naruto threw a 3-petaled kunai with a strange seal on the handle at the first one, he returned, leaving the kunai behind, this was his mistake, Uzumaki moved to the kunai and pierced the shinobi's head with it, who fell dead. Putting the kunai in his pouch, Naruto took out the knife with which he killed the first one and with lightning cut the throats of the others, they did not even have time to figure out anything, as they went to the next world. Naruto was not tormented by conscience, there was no regret, he understood. If not them then you sound selfish, but it is true. There was a lot of blood, on the ground, on clothes, on hands. Looking at her, Naruto remembered what happened 5 months ago. Flashback. Naruto stood on the farthest training ground away from people so that the ANBU wouldn't follow him. He sent a clone to play pranks, and he hid his chakra. He put up a good barrier on the training ground that creates the illusion of an empty space, not letting through any sound, smell, or chakra. Naruto took out a scroll and opened 3 not small jars with his blood from there. This blood is needed to draw a large circle with a formula inside. http://www.symbolsbook.ru/images/k/circle.jpg. Naruto poured Kyuubi's chakra into the symbols that are located along the edge of the circle, and his own into those in the middle. Standing in the center, he made a cut on both hands with a kunai. He directed the Kyuubi chakra into his right hand and his own into his left and folded them. They connected 2 different chakras together. The circle lit up so brightly that it blinded Uzumaki, then a burning pain followed throughout the body. It did not last long. After about 7 minutes everything stopped, and Naruto fell to the ground. It was good that the barrier did not disappear, otherwise all the shinobi of Konoha would have come running here, due to the huge surge of chakra. Naruto woke up the next morning, his whole body ached. He looked around and suddenly noticed that he could see every fly and blade of grass, smell the ramen from Ichiraku at such a great distance and hear every rustle. Apparently the ritual was successful, Kurama asserted. Be thankful that I held the barrier instead of you. Yeah, listen, does that mean you can come out of me now? The blonde asked happily. Yes, only at your request, Kurama said with annoyance. And by the way, you can turn into a fox, your sense of smell and hearing will become even higher than now. Then I give you permission to go out, the blonde said playfully. Thank you, master, Kurama said, just as mockingly. A soft red chakra began to come out of Naruto, not like the gurgling and scary one before. The chakra began to form in one place and formed a small red ladder, a reduced copy of Kyuubi. There were 9 tails, red eyes, long ears, only the paws were small with small claws. Cutie. Hee, Naruto couldn't help but laugh. Of course, the scary and terrible demon Kyuubi, in the form of a cute little ladder that you just want to hug. What are you laughing at, Gur? But the voice remained the same, and that was even funnier, like a small ladder, but such a scary voice. Ahahaha, well have you seen yourself Kurama, Naruto said with a laugh. GGRRR. Well, I saw everything, great, and now let's get out of here, the ANBU are coming, apparently your clone vanished somewhere unnoticed, and they are looking for you all over Konoha. Your blood evaporated so that there are no traces left, remove the barrier and get out of here, Kurama announced. End of flashback. Then a voice was heard. Kazuto. Kazuto. Can you hear me? Yusu couldn't reach the guy. Huh? Yes, of course. Well, what did you see? The guy said with resentment. Yeah, I'll pay you at the end of the journey, okay? 7,000 Rai, said Yusu. Okay, just wait a minute, the guy said and headed towards the fallen trees. He made several seals and touched the ground with his palms. She delayed and under the trees appeared Stonegate's sadface http://1.bp.blogspot.com/-6@edcCLG/UA-lunk3s_P5317861.jpg, which removed the trees. Then Naruto with Mr. Yusa got into the first carriage. Now Ryoko does not consider him weak, so he sat him down next to him so that he could protect him. So, how did you like your first murder? A voice was heard in the subconscious. Strange, I don't feel guilt or pity, they were criminals who probably killed innocent people and they would have been put in prison anyway, Naruto said calmly. Heh, strange reaction, said Kurama to his Jinchuriki's answer. Otherwise, confirmed Naruto. Along the way, there were small gangs and weak missing nin. Now, for Naruto, this was a great way to gain experience. And finally they reached Konoha. Naruto said goodbye to Mr. Yusu 100 meters away from the main gate, in order to sneak into the village unnoticed. He had been gone for 3 weeks, but as expected, people's opinions of him had not changed, they still looked at him with contempt and hatred. When Naruto came home, the clone he had left for all this time was here. Having dispelled the clone, Uzumaki received all of its knowledge. As it turned out, he managed to fight with Inuzuka Kiba, who was one of the members of the famous clan of dog breeders. And with several other guys. At the academy, everyone thinks that Uzumaki is an idiot and a hooligan, which is to his advantage. Having tidied himself up and changed his clothes, the blonde went to bed. These 3 weeks had exhausted him. The next morning Naruto woke up at 7:30. Today he had to go to the academy, but he really didn't want to get up. He would have sent a clone there, but he needed to scout everything himself. With difficulty getting to his feet, Naruto quickly had breakfast and, using henge, went to the academy. Walking down the street, the residents again looked at him and whispered behind his back. And then the academy building appeared. Walking into the yard, Naruto noticed a large oak tree, on the branch of which an ordinary swing was hanging, but there was no one nearby, and in the yard too, which meant that the bell had already rung. Naruto ran headlong into the classroom. Without even knocking, he burst into the office and silently ran to his place. No one was surprised. Uzumaki comes, or rather runs. This has been the case for 3 weeks already. He made it just in time. Teacher Irika was just starting the roll call. Since the blonde did not get enough sleep, he decided to catch up on his sleep during class. There was nothing to learn here anyway. Already falling asleep, Naruto heard fragments of phrases. Kiba Inuzuka, Hinata Hyuga, yes. Shikamaru Nara, yes. Yamanaka Ino, Sakura Haruno, Aburame Shino, yes. Sasuke Uchiha. Naruto woke up on the penultimate lesson. Now they were supposed to show him combat stances. He didn't need it, he had his own special fighting style. But he had to show that he didn't know anything and that nothing was working. It was shameful. So that he couldn't repeat basic stances. When school ended, Naruto went home, but on the way he heard a girl crying, which came from the bushes. Naruto quietly approached and examined the situation. There were 3 boys his age and a girl of the same age with short black-blue hair and milky eyes, who studied in Uzumaki's class. It was Hinata Hyuga. She was sitting on his knees and crying. Ask for forgiveness. One of the guys said mockingly. He was probably the leader of the so-called gang. Yes, ask for forgiveness for the fact that you are from a great clan, and we are not, the second one picked up. Sorry, Hinata whispered, sobbing. I can't hear you, speak louder, the leader demanded. Forgive me, forgive me. Forgive me. Hinata begged. The leader was about to hit Hyuga, but his hand was stopped by Naruto, who appeared out of nowhere. And you, demon, what do you want? The commander said rudely. Stop this disgrace. The blonde barked. You better get out of here, or you'll get it now. The guy said mockingly. Suddenly, the blonde hit him in the stomach so hard that he flew into a tree. Demon. Let's run, or he'll kill us now. One shouted and ran away, followed by the second. Meanwhile, Naruto ran up to Hinata. Are you okay? He asked, helping her up. Why yes, thank you very much, Hyuga said, blushing. You're welcome. Uzumaki smiled with 32 teeth. Hinata-sama, Hinata-sama. A voice of some person was heard. Well, see you later, said Naruto and ran away. Finally arriving home, the blonde sat down on the bed and went into the subconscious. So, how do you like the academy? Asked Kurama. You can't call it an academy, more like a kindergarten. What do they teach there? How could they cut the subject so much? When I become Hokage, I'll change this program, Naruto said dreamily. I agree, said the fox, supporting the guy's idea. Well, what are we going to do? Oh yeah, listen, you'll work as a mercenary for 3 to 4 weeks and sit out the next 2 weeks at the academy, okay? Naruto nodded. Well, everyone, go to bed tomorrow in kindergarten, the fox grinned. Yeah, good night Kurama, Uzumaki said sleepily and came out of his subconscious. Finding himself in reality, the blonde went to bed. The next morning, Naruto went to the academy. And after 2 weeks, leaving a clone in his place, he went to a trading town to find a caravan in need of protection. So 4 years passed. Today is the day of the Genin graduation exam. Parents see their children off to the academy and wish them good luck. Naruto felt sad from this picture. He didn't have parents. Hey, what are you doing, envying them? They should be the ones envying you, because you have me, the fox said encouragingly. The nine-tailed one himself is your friend. You're right. Well, okay, I'm going, said the blonde and walked towards his class. As Naruto walked down the hallway, he overheard the words of one teacher. Great, when one of the students fails the exam, I'll persuade him to steal the Hokage scroll. That damn demon probably won't pass, Mizuki voiced his plan. That was the name of that teacher. That's all Naruto needed to hear. He decided to play along, especially since it would confirm his role as a loser. No one would notice. Walking into the office, Naruto didn't see Teacher Irika, so he silently sat down in his seat. The whispering of children could be heard everywhere. And what does he hope for? This loser will never give up. Probably his parents are stupid, and it was passed on. Demon, monster. The door opened and Teacher Irika entered the classroom. Well, kids. A boring lecture about the way of the shinobi, and so the exam consists of 2 stages, one written, in which you need to answer questions from different subjects in 2 hours. The second stage is practice. You go to room 103, take 1 ticket and show the technique written there. Is everything clear? Asked Irika. Yes, the children answered in chorus. Then let's begin. Irika took a thick stack of papers and walked around the classroom, handing them out to all the students. There were enough questions, 20 for each subject, of which there were 16. Naruto could answer them with ease, but he couldn't spoil the mask of an idiot. That's why he answered 10 to 13 questions from each subject. In order to pass the first stage with great difficulty. That's it, time's up, come back in 2 hours for the second stage. For these 2 hours Naruto sat on the swing and thought about what to do with Mizuki. Kurama, what do you think? When he wants to take the scroll, should I make a cutlet out of him, or just knock him out? The blonde said with anticipation. Heh, of course a cutlet, he called you a demon, the fox growled. It's all decided, a cutlet is a cutlet, said the blonde, and went to class. At the academy, he pretended that he couldn't create even one normal illusion clone, and because of this, he always failed his exams. So, now I will call out names, and those called will go to room 103, Yumino announced. Naruto was only waiting for his name, he wasn't interested in the others. And the genins with brand new protectors were already leaving the auditorium. It was the blonde's turn. Uzumaki Naruto, Irika said with a sigh, not really hoping that he would pass. Demon, loser, monster, was heard from all sides. Naruto silently put his hands behind his head and walked into the auditorium. There was a small table with protectors on it. Mizuki was sitting at the table. Naruto took 1 ticket. Illusory clones was written on the piece of paper. Naruto wasn't going to give up, so he created a terrible clone. Failed, the examiner said sternly. What did this Naruto expect? Arose in the teacher's thoughts. Uzumaki pretended to be upset and left the classroom empty-handed, but the blonde acted according to plan. After leaving the academy, Naruto sat down on the swing. Soon the final exam ended, and the joyful genin hurried to meet their parents. Mom, this demon didn't give up. Dad, this loser will never become a shinobi. When everyone left, Mizuki approached Naruto. I can give you a pass if you do one thing, the teacher said slyly. Aha, then it's time to act according to plan. Really? What should I do? Asked the blonde. Yes, you must bring me the Hokage scroll, okay? Mizuki asked. Okay, teacher, Uzumaki nodded. Then, I'll wait for you near the abandoned building in the forest, he said, and disappeared with a pop. Near the abandoned building, then, the blonde repeated. Naruto had taken the Hokage's scroll much earlier and read everything in it, so he was bait for Mizuki. Arriving at the place, already with the scroll, Naruto waited only 5 minutes, and the teacher arrived. Great, give me the scroll, said the shinobi. And the credit? Uzumaki said innocently. Well, I can't give you a pass now, I'll give it to you tomorrow, said Mizuki. No, put it down now, the blonde insisted. Okay. Give me the scroll the easy way. Mizuki was starting to get tired of this. And if not? Uzumaki was getting on his nerves. "I'll take him by force," the teacher shouted. "Catch it first," said the blonde, sticking out his tongue. Mizuki took out a large shuriken hanging behind his back and threw it at Naruto. The blonde easily dodged. Taking the same shuriken, he quietly tied a fishing line and threw it at the shinobi. He also dodged, but noticed that he could not move. The fishing line wrapped around him, and he fell from the tree. Just at that moment Iruka ran up, seeing Mizuki tied up, and Naruto standing calmly next to him. Seeing how one of the academy students knocked down the sensei, Iruka took off his head protector and tied it to the blonde. "Now you are a genin of Konoha," Iruka said proudly. "Thank you, sensei," Uzumaki shouted joyfully. Then the ANBU arrived and took the traitor away. And Iruka and Naruto went to Ichiraku to celebrate the genin title. The next day, the genins had to come to the team distribution. The class was full of children, everyone was discussing something heatedly. When the blonde entered the room, silence reigned. But then, "Hey, what are you doing here?" the genin shouted angrily. "Yes, get out of here." And when they saw the protector, "What? Where did you get it from? You didn't pass," the children started shouting from all sides. Naruto silently walked to his seat. After 5 minutes the door opened and teacher Iruka appeared. "Glad to see you again, children," the teacher said loudly. "Okay, now I'll announce the team lineups," said Iruka, taking some paper and starting to read the team numbers and the names of the genin. Team number 7 Sakura Haruno, Sasuke Uchiha and Uzumaki Naruto, Captain Kakashi Hatake. Team 8, Kiba Inuzuka, Hinata Hyuga, Shino Aburame, Captain Yuhi Kurine. Team 9, Rock Lee, Tenten, Hyuga Niji. Captain Might Guy. Team number 10, Shikamaru Nara, Yamanaka Ino, Akimichi Cheiji, Captain Sarutobi Asuma. "That's all, now wait for your senseis, see you later," Iruka said and left the classroom. Sakura was both happy and sad. She ended up on a team with the handsome guy of the entire academy, and with the loser of the entire village. Everyone started discussing the team composition, some were happy, others cursed the earth. "Why am I on the same team as this demon?" Sakura complained to the god, but no one heard her complaints except Naruto. The senseis began to take their students. After some time only team number 7 remained. Naruto was bored and decided to draw on the school board. No one knew, but Uzumaki was very good at drawing. There were multicolored chalks. 3 minutes of drawing, and it was ready. On the board was drawn a young woman with long red hair, dark green eyes. It looked beautiful. Sakura really liked the drawing. And she approached the blonde. "Not bad for a loser like you," the pink-haired girl said critically. Seeing the guy's sad look, she asked a question. "Who is this? She looks a bit like you." "This is my mother," Uzumaki said sadly. "Yours? Do you have a mother? You've never seen her, why do you think she looks like that?" Sakura said rudely. Naruto was angered by the pink-haired girl's words. "What do you know about me? It's none of your business, get lost." The blonde shouted angrily and erased the drawing. After 2 hours, an ash-haired shinobi appeared in the doorway, in a jounin uniform, with a mask on half his face, and a protector pulled over his left eye. "Hello, I am your sensei, Hatake Kakashi," the copyist said, smiling with his eyes. "Actually, you should apologize for being late," Sakura said irritably, snorting. "I was just helping my grandma with her bags and got lost on the road of life," Kakashi said, also smiling with his eyes. Yes, of course. "Okay, follow me, let's go to the roof to get acquainted," said the jounin, and went towards the stairs that lead to the roof. The genins nodded and followed the sensei. When they reached the top, Hatake leaned against the fence, and the boys sat down on the steps. "So, tell me your name, tell me what you like, what you don't like, your interests, hobbies, your goals, your dreams," Hatake said indifferently. "Show us an example, sensei," Haruno asked. "Okay, my name is Hatake Kakashi, there are things I like and things I don't like, my interests won't be of interest to you, just like my hobbies, and it's better for you not to know my goals," Hatake said coldly. "You didn't tell us anything except your name," Sakura said indignantly. you go ahead, the copyist pointed at Sasuke. My name is Sasuke Uchiha, there is nothing that I love, but there are many things that I don't like. I don't have any hobbies, my hobby is training, and my dream is not a goal, to kill one person, Uchiha said coldly. Okay, now it's your turn, Kakashi said, pointing at the girl. My name is Haruno Sakura, I love looks towards Uchiha and blushes, hobbies blushes and looks towards Uchiha, hobby again, dream or goal again. And I don't like Naruto, Haruno finally finished. I see, well, you too, Hatake said, pointing at the blonde. I am Uzumaki Naruto, I love ramen and my only friend Kurama, I don't like the Uchiha and elders, my hobbies are, a secret, a goal and a dream too, Uzumaki said mysteriously. Okay, well then I'll be waiting for you tomorrow at 6 at field number 7, and I advise you not to have breakfast, said the jounin and disappeared with a pop. Okay, well, see you tomorrow. The blonde said goodbye. Yeah, Sasuke. Bye, Sakura. And Naruto went home. Arriving home, Uzumaki went to bed. Kakashi's thoughts. So, judging by their stories and place of residence, we can make the following description. Uchiha Sasuke is an avenger whose purpose in life is to take revenge on his brother. Sakura Haruno is a girl in love who follows Uchiha around like a tail, but she is well read. Naruto Uzumaki is a mystery, the whole village hates him, he had no parents since birth, no one to teach him, he barely passed the exam, it feels like he is dumber than a cork, but judging by his room, it's not that simple, he needs close supervision. We'll find out more tomorrow at the test. Flashback. Kakashi was heading to the Uchiha quarter. Finding Sasuke's room, he examined it with his Sharingan, not noticing anything unusual. Hatake noted that the room had a cold atmosphere, just like the owner's. Then the copyist went to Haruno. When he entered her room, his eyes almost burned out. The whole room was in bright pink tones, there were also many different books. And finally, Uzumaki's room. Arriving at the place, Hatake was horrified, the whole apartment was in garbage, dirty clothes, food bags, and all sorts, mountains of dirty dishes, in a word, a nightmare. He did not expect to find anything special here, but still decided to check with the Sharingan. Having looked around the whole room, he stopped his gaze on a strange seal that was behind the bed. Moving it, Kakashi took a closer look at the seal, it was definitely from the Uzumaki clan, but he could not make out more. Having put the bed back, the jounin went to his students who were waiting for him at the academy. End flashback. The next day, at Training Ground 7. Sakura came first, Sasuke second and Naruto third. They waited for the teacher for 3 hours, and finally he showed up. Hello. Hatake said positively. Hi. Well then, I'll tell you the essence of the test, you have to take these 2 bells from me before noon, and whoever takes them gets breakfast, Hatake said calmly. But why are there only 2 bells? Sakura asked. Whoever can't take it away will return to the academy, is that clear? The jounin said menacingly. The genins nodded. Well, the test and how Naruto was tied to a pole like in the anime, I'm too lazy to write everything down. My laziness apologizes profusely. So, tomorrow at 8 near the Hokage's residence, we will receive the first task, Hatake announced and disappeared. Bye, Naruto. See you tomorrow, Sakura. Yeah, Sasuke said in the same indifferent tone. The next day. The Hokage's residence. Kakashi was late again. So, your first task, rank D, weeding the garden, smiled the third. Ugh, we're shinobi. The blonde complained. Go ahead, said the third. A month passed in such tasks. Naruto left for 3 weeks to work as a mercenary, and left a clone. Your task is to walk the dogs, said the third. Okay, that's enough, give us a normal task already. Uzumaki demanded. Well then, okay, I'm giving you a C-rank assignment, security, the Hokage explained. Lord Tazuna, please. A middle-aged man came out from behind the door, dressed like an ordinary villager, wearing a straw hat and holding a bottle of sake. And these little brats will guard me? Tazuna said indignantly. I don't like that shorty the most, the old man said, pointing at Naruto. Who are you calling shorty here? The blonde wanted to hit him, but Sakura held him back. Tazuna-san is the bridge builder of the Land of Waves, he needs to be escorted there, said the third. Then in half an hour at the main gate, Kakashi gave the instructions. Yes. The genins answered together and went to get ready. Half an hour later everyone was already at the main gate. Well, let's go, Hataki answered. And they slowly set off on their way. Since Tazuna couldn't move through the trees, they had to go on foot. Team 7 and bridge builder Tazuna had been walking for 2 hours to the Land of Waves. Kakashi was reading his book, Sakura was chattering something to Sasuke, Naruto was walking silently with his hands behind his head, and Tazuna was drinking sake. A puddle appeared ahead, but why would a puddle appear after 2 weeks of heat? It was suspicious. Kakashi pretended not to care, Sasuke became wary, Sakura continued to chirp, and Naruto only opened his left eye, showing no reaction. Then there is a scene like in anime. Laziness, laziness, and laziness. After the attack of the demon brothers, they moved on. But just an hour later, a new guest appeared. And Naruto noticed his presence. There was a rustling sound from the bushes, and then a huge sword flew out of them. Get down! Kakashi shouted. Everyone lay down on the ground, and the thug flew above them a couple of centimeters. The weapon stuck into the tree. A mist renegade landed on the sword's hilt, one could recognize him as one of the 7 mist swordsmen. The team rose from the ground, Kakashi stood in front and spoke. Momochi Zabuza, missing mean of Kirikigure, demon of the bloody mist and one of the 7 swordsmen, didn't expect to see you here, Kakashi noted. And you, Kakashi Hatake, copy ninja and son of the White Fang, have copied more than 1,000 techniques, said Momochi. They continued to say such phrases, and Naruto talked to the fox. You know what, Naruto? This is still your team, and you shouldn't have any secrets from them, Kurama said casually. Well, yes, sooner or later they will find out. I think we can tell them, but we need to find the right moment, the blonde agreed with his friend. It seems like it will come soon, and by the way, have you noticed that they are already fighting? The fox grinned. What? Damn Ku, you're distracting me, Uzumaki said displeasedly. And Zabuza and Kakashi were already fighting in full force on the water. Hatake even lifted the bandage from his left eye and used the Sharingan. The copyist lost sight of the swordsman. Momochi emerged from the water from behind and caught Hatake in a water prison. The swordsman created 5 water clones, he placed 4 around himself and sent the 5th to the genin. A thick fog appeared, it was definitely one of his techniques. The clone decided to remove the blonde first, coming up from behind, he wanted to cut off his head with his sword, but he himself was cut into 2 parts and turned into water. The name of the technique gust of wind was heard, a fairly strong wind blew, which blew away the fog. In the place where Naruto stood there was a 13-year-old boy all in black and a white mask with a red symbol. In his hands he had a strange knife with a fishing line on the handle, everything as I described in the previous chapters. Zabuza sent 2 clones at him, they went to the sides and were already swinging at the guy with thugs, as he threw the knife and controlling the wind flows changed its direction, and the fishing line that was tied to it wrapped around the hands of the clones in which they held swords. The guy jumped forward and pulled the fishing line, and the clones, unable to keep their balance, cut each other with weapons. The swordsman was angered by this and sent the remaining 2 clones to finally finish him off. No one noticed, but 3-petaled kunai were scattered all over the battlefield, they were even stuck in the water with chakra, and they didn't notice because there was a thick fog under their feet. Naruto left it on purpose. 2 clones ran towards the blonde, but before they could reach him, they exploded with water, even Kakashi with the Sharingan could only see yellow lightning. Momochi held the water prison with one hand so that it would not dissipate, and he should not let go under any circumstances. A strange kunai flew at the swordsman, he dodged it only by tilting his head. The kunai would have flown further if that same guy hadn't appeared out of nowhere and grabbed it. He swung it at Zabuza's hand, the swordsman didn't want to risk it so he let go of the water prison and jumped back about 7 meters. Kakashi freed himself and looked warily at his savior, who only snorted. 3 Senbon flew at Momochi and hit him in the neck, he fell to the ground. A shinobi in a green kimono, Winen's mask and long black hair tied in a bun appeared on a tree branch. He threw Zabuza on his shoulder and, making a concentration seal with one hand, said, I've been hunting for him for a long time, thank you for your help, and he disappeared in white puffs of smoke. Of course he was hunting for him, the fox chuckled. Yes. The oinins destroy the body on the spot, and it didn't hit the vital organs, but special points that simulate death, Uzumaki said skeptically. Now I have to explain. After a while, Kakashi came to his senses and asked the question that interested him most. Who are you? Hataki asked, not understanding. What kind of teacher are you that you don't recognize your students? Naruto said sarcastically, taking off his mask. Kakashi didn't immediately brighten up. For a second it seemed to him that this was Minato Namikaze, his teacher, but after rethinking the guy's words, he understood what was going on. Naruto? Kakashi didn't believe it. No, damn it, Hokage, said Uzumaki Namikaze all in one, irritated. What does this mean? What happened all this time? The copyist could not believe it. My role is perfectly played, the blonde answered calmly. A role? So you were pretending all this time? Asked Hataki. Yes. You saw the seal in my apartment, it's not just there for nothing. Naruto was fed up with the teacher's stupidity. And you know about Kyuubi and parents, Hataki said sadly. I ask you not to call my Bija that, his name is Kurama, and I know about his parents, Namikaze said menacingly, just like his mother. And then Kakashi began to understand. I don't like the Uchiha and the elders. I love my only friend Kurama. It's not just that he doesn't like them, and this friend, an incomprehensible seal. So he takes after Minato-sensei in character, although there are some flashes of Kushina-san, Kakashi thought. So that's how it is, and why did you hide it? The copyist asked the last question. Growling. Kakashi-sensei, you seem smart, or did it seem to me? The blonde was furious, it seems. If Konoha's weapon is strong, it could be dangerous for the village, Danzo says so and so do the elders, especially since you can't underestimate the enemy, but they forgot about this rule, Uzumaki said with a grin. One day I'll chop up their old brains, Naruto said dreamily. Kakashi felt a bit gloomy. These are not Kushina's flashes, but large rays, thought Hataki. Okay, let's go sensei, we still need to tell the genin, putting his hands in his pockets. The blonde calmly walked through the water towards Sasuke and Sakura, and also Tazuna, who was scared like a kitten. They didn't hear the conversation, so they got into a fighting stance when the guy started approaching them. They didn't look threatening, small, inexperienced genin. Don't you recognize your partner? Namikaze said tiredly. And Naruto? The three, genins and the old man, didn't believe it. Why are you frozen? Asked Uzumaki. It's me, and hide your weapons, I'll tell you everything on the way. The boys hesitantly put their weapons in their pouches and looked at the sensei standing next to them. What? I'm interested myself, he answered the student's silent question. As they continued on their way, Naruto began his story. Well, let's start with the most important thing, I'll tell you about my biography, the blonde began. You know how the village treats me, right? It's because I'm the Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails. Here Haruno interrupted him. What? So you're the nine-tailed one? Sakura exclaimed. No, Jinchuriki are people who have Bija sealed in them, I am not the Nine Tails. Uzumaki growled. And so that I don't hear you calling him that. His name is Kurama, but he was interrupted again. He told you that, Naruto, don't listen to him, he's deceiving you, he just needs to get out of you. Kakashi assured. The only one here who wants my mother's genes to come out of me is you, sensei. And stop interrupting me. Uzumaki said with a frightening aura. Kakashi turned pale. He knew his mother personally and had visited her many times. He remembered it for the rest of his life. Under no circumstances, do you hear me? Under no circumstances do you anger the Uzumaki. When they are angry, they are worse than the Kyuubi when he is angry. Not only Kakashi felt this aura, but also everyone standing nearby. They decided not to interrupt him. By the way, Kurama is no longer my bijou, he is my guardian, and if he wanted to get out of me, he would not be able to, no matter how much he wanted. Remember once and for all, Kurama is my friend, partner, and guardian, got it? Asked Namikaze. Everyone just nodded. Great, the blonde sighed. No one knows who my parents are, isn't that weird? My parents were Kushina Uzumaki and Minato Namikaze. He shouldn't have interrupted him. What? Don't make me laugh, they are your parents, such an idiot their son. Uchiha didn't finish, as with all his stupidity he got a fist with concentrated chakra in the face, which sent him flying about 10 meters. Someone definitely wants the Uzumaki genes to break out. I told you not to interrupt me. And I'm not an idiot growling, and 2 bloody red eyes with vertical pupils appeared behind Naruto, which were very frightening. After a couple of minutes, Uzumaki calmed down and began to look for something in his pouch. He took out some kind of photograph. When Sasuke got up, Naruto showed it. The photo showed a girl with long red hair and dark green eyes, and from behind, hugging her, was a blonde man with exactly the same hairstyle and color as Naruto. Yes, they were like 2 peas in a pod, except for the age difference. Anyone would say that in the photo was his father, and the woman was most likely his mother. Well, that's it? Namikaze said, offended. Yes, Uchiha calmed down. Sakura also saw the photo and remembered the drawing on the school board that Naruto drew when they were waiting for sensei. So, from birth I was sealed, or rather, my father sealed Kurama into me, and in a fit of anger he wanted to kill me, but my parents saved me at the cost of their lives. Then those damn elders in Danzo made it so that I was left penniless in a small, rickety room and hated by the entire village, although by inheritance I should live in a huge mansion with a ton of money. When I was being beaten up again, I ended up visiting my prisoner. We had a short chat there and he became my friend and teacher. That was about 8 years ago. At the academy, most of the time, it was my clone and not me. And at that time I worked as a mercenary. Well, that's all you need to know. And most importantly, remember, no one should know about this. I told you this only because you are my team. And remember this Oinen, he is in cahoots with Sabuzi. So, they will attack soon. We will stay with you until they attack, Tazuna-san. I just had a request to kill Gato and you, and I will benefit from this, the blonde finally finished. Team 7 was frightened by Uzumaki's last words. And his whole story surprised them. After a while, a fog appeared, but it was natural, not created by some shinobi. Further on, there was a large river, and on the shore there was a boat next to which stood an elderly man dressed like Tazuna. He smiled affably and showed with his hand that they could get into the boat. When everyone sat down, the driver started the engine and they headed towards the village where Tazuna lived. When they moored at the shore, the builder took the shinobi to his home. Arriving there, his daughter Tsunami prepared a delicious dinner and kindly provided the shinobi with sleeping places. Tazuna also had a grandson Inari who lost his father because of the same Gato. The next day, Kakashi called the Uchiha for training. The team stood in a dense forest. Every shinobi should be able to walk on different surfaces with the help of chakra. Today you will learn to walk on trees, Hatake decided to demonstrate visually. He directed chakra to his legs and slowly walked along the tree pole. Direct chakra to your legs and hold it for a certain amount. You have to practice this until it becomes automatic, understand? The copyist explained. Yes. Sakura and Sasuke answered, and Naruto stood quietly to the side with his hands in his pockets. He has long been able to walk on different surfaces. Why is Naruto standing there and doing nothing? Sakura asked displeasedly. Well, I think he can do it, Kakashi said, smiling with his eyes. What makes you think that? Haruno continued. PFF, you underestimate me too much, Haruno, the blonde said coldly. He walked along the tree just like sensei. That's it? No questions? Namikaze said irritably. And no, the pink-haired girl said, lowering her head. Okay, I'm going to gather information, said the already leaving blonde man, waving his hand. Everyone, get started, Kakashi said and went to Tazuna's house. 3 days have passed since Team 7 came to Tazuna's house. Today they have to go to the bridge and protect it from a possible attack by Zabuza and that strange guy. All these days Naruto did not appear, but when the team was already heading to the bridge he came. A 3-petaled kunai flew at Sasuke, 30 centimeters from his face. The kunai was grabbed by a blonde man who appeared out of nowhere, and he put the weapon in his pouch. I understand you are going to a construction site? Naruto asked. Yes. Where have you been all this time? Sasuke said discontentedly. I told you that I went to gather information, Namikaze replied. And what kind of meeting did you go to? Haruno asked incredulously. I asked about this Gato and checked his base and left a message there. I'm sure he will show up at the bridge, said the blonde, putting his hands in his pockets and walked towards the bridge. The others followed him. When they arrived at the place, Kakashi gave instructions to the students, and stood in the middle of the bridge to observe everything that was happening. He sent Sakura to guard Tazuna, Sasuke to the entrance, and Naruto to the edge of the structure. Uzumaki sat on the edge, dangling his legs. It was very high. If you fall from such a height even into water, you will become mincemeat. The blonde closed his eyes and plunged into the subconscious. There he was sitting on the head of a huge fox. Why is Namikaze so gloomy? Kurama asked worriedly. Well, I'll have to cut a lot of people today. And my team will start to be afraid of me, the blonde said upset. Yeah, that's a problem. But don't worry, they should understand you, the fox encouraged. I hope so, Uzumaki sighed and came out of his subconscious. Finding himself in reality, Naruto felt the approach of enemies, but continued to sit, hiding his presence as much as possible. After 2 minutes, a thick fog appeared. The workers dropped their tools and ran away from the construction. They knew at what time natural fog appears, but this was not it. The team also noticed something was wrong and prepared for battle, and no one even remembered about the blonde. Sakura and Sasuke began to guard Tazuna. A huge sword flew at Kakashi, but thanks to the Sharingan, it returned and a fight began between Hitaki and Momochi. Senbons flew at the genin, but Uchiha repelled them all and took the masked guy on himself, leaving the pink-haired girl to guard the architect. Kakashi received 2 not very deep wounds and Sasuke fell into the mirror trap of the guy. Everyone knows what it looks like and how it works, who turned the Uchiha into a hedgehog. And Sakura calmly guarded Tazuna with a kunai in her hands. Naruto decided to join. He got up and slowly walked towards the mirror trap, touching one of the glasses. A soft red chakra began to flow out of his hand that covered the entire ice dome. The glass began to crack and then completely turned into crumbs. The guy in the mask fell out of the glass that had just shattered, covered in cuts and burns. Approaching Sasuke, Naruto helped him get up. Where have you been all this time? Uchiha asked irritably. I was sitting on the edge of the bridge, the blonde said calmly. PFF, is it okay that we're fighting here? Sasuke said discontentedly. Say thank you for even deciding to help, Naruto said, making an offended face. The guy in the mask stood up and picked up the senbons, and Namikaze took out his unusual knife with a fishing line on the handle and got into combat formation. Haku, let's finish them off quickly, said Zabuza. Haku, as it turned out now, threw needles at the genin, but Uzumaki parried them all with a knife. Haku ran at the blonde, throwing more and more senbon at him, and Naruto parried them without much difficulty. When the guy in the mask was a meter away from Uzumaki, he created a spear out of ice and wanted to finally kill the blonde, but he returned and created a blue ball of concentrated chakra in his hand, struck him in the heart, pierced him through. Haku fell to the ground already dead. Naruto did not blink an eye, and Sasuke turned away with frightened eyes. After folding several seals, Namikaze used the wind technique. A gust of wind, Uzumaki whispered, and a wind blew that blew away all the fog. Zabuza was captured by Kakashi's dogs, who created a Raikiri and killed the swordsman. Calling off the animals, Hitaki approached the students. Is everything okay? The copyist asked worriedly. Yes, Sasuke answered. Seeing the dead body in a pool of blood, Kakashi frowned. Who killed him? The teacher said seriously. Well, Uzumaki said indifferently. I see, Hitaki said suspiciously. Pfft, you decided to run away with the money without completing the task, and now you paid for it. You always have to do everything yourself, said a short guy in a black business suit in a nasty voice, who was standing at the entrance to the bridge, and behind him stood about 100 bandits, apparently working for him. Namikaze left a note at his base saying that Momochi would not carry out this mission and would take the money, but the blonde came up with all of this. Couldn't finish off 3 weaklings, an old man and another weakling. Naruto chuckled. Taking out his knife, he got into a fighting stance. Naruto, are you going to fight them all alone? Kakashi said in surprise. Namikaze looked at him sideways with a cold gaze that sent shivers down Hitaki's spine. You underestimate me too much. Uzumaki said with a grin, putting a couple of seals on the blonde's wrists. A small seal appeared, it lit up and disappeared. Everyone felt the enormous power emanating from Naruto. He's probably very self-confident, why are you standing there? Finish him off, and the rest of them later, said the shorty. And all his people rushed at the guy. Naruto threw one 3-petaled kunai into the center of the entire crowd, and disappeared from the place where he had just been. He appeared in the middle of the gathering. Everyone clapped their eyes in surprise, but after a couple of seconds they rushed at him with a scream. Naruto put on his mask with a red sign and began to chop everyone in a row with his unusual knife, eluding their crooked blows. He also periodically added wind or lightning chakra to the knife. He had an unusual style of kenjutsu, the movements were cunning, unexpected, sharp, fast and powerful. Naruto was covered in blood, but not his own, but his enemies, although they couldn't even be called enemies, they were weaklings to be honest, but there were a lot of them and some of them had a couple of techniques. Having cut off the last one's head, Uzumaki headed towards Gato. Everyone knows that it was him. When he approached him, it turned out that Naruto was taller than him, at least by 5 centimeters. Without ceremony, the blonde simply pierced his head. Naruto did not need his body like everyone else, so he folded a decent number of seals and touched the ground. Where there was a massacre, the bridge burst into flames, just like the road to hell. After a couple of seconds only ashes remained from the bodies. Uzumaki used the same technique that blew away the fog to remove the ashes from the building. Namikaze moved to the kunai, which he threw into the former crowd, and put it in his pouch. Now they'll definitely start to fear you, the fox commented. As if I don't know, the blonde said, upset. The team had already approached him and looked at Uzumaki with fear. What are you looking at? Never killed anyone? Namikaze said angrily. Oh, nothing really, Haruno said quieter than a fly. This picture shocked her. Are you okay? Hatake asked. Do you think that this is my first time killing? Naruto said with a smile, but others found it frightening. Okay, it's too early for you to talk about this, Uzumaki said, turning to Sakura and Sasuke. Tomorrow the bridge will be finished, you can stay until then. Tsunade decided to put in his word. Everyone nodded and went to the builder's house. Everyone was busy with their own thoughts, although they coincided. Kakashi. When he said that he worked as a mercenary and left a clone at the academy, he killed people. He was still just a child and he had already killed so many people. Where is the world heading? Children are being made into murderers, Hatake thought. Sasuke. And this is the idiot I knew? No, this is a cold-blooded killer with a difficult past and a lot of strength. I wouldn't want to fight him. Sakura. I need to remember this forever, you can't flood him under any circumstances, otherwise he won't even blink before he kills me. Brrr, he's a scary guy. He's much stronger than Sasuke, no matter how much I deny it. Tazuna. When we first met, I was rude to him, he could have finished me off right there, the bridge builder thought fearfully. It was already late evening. Tsunade prepared a wonderful dinner, as always. After that the shinobi went to bed, only the blonde decided to sit on the terrace, which overlooked the river. Sitting on the wooden floor and dangling his legs, Uzumaki thought. In Konoha I'll have to continue to play the fool, it's sad. Yeah, the team isn't talking to me, it's not surprising after that. Soon to Konoha and again these looks, growling, when will they finally understand? With such thoughts he fell asleep on the terrace leaning against a pillar. Morning came, today the team had to go to the village. Naruto remained near the river. Hey, get up, we need to get going already, Sasuke said, shaking him by the shoulder. He was unhappy that he was the one sent to wake up the killer. Huh? Did I fall asleep here? The blonde was surprised. We'll probably leave in half an hour, said Uchiha and went to the kitchen. Having collected all his things, Uzumaki followed him. There they had breakfast and went to the bridge. They walked the whole way in silence. Well, the bridge is finally built. I haven't decided on the name yet, since you helped a lot, I give you this right. Everyone thought hard except Uzumaki, but they couldn't come up with anything. And you, Naruto, no suggestions? Asked Hatake. After thinking for a couple of minutes, he answered. The Bridge of Truth. Not bad, then everything is decided, we call it the Bridge of Truth, Tazuna said cheerfully. Well, it's really not bad, Sakura confirmed. So, are we moving out? Hataki asked. Yes. The genins answered in chorus. And the team set off. When they arrived, they reported everything, replacing the moments with Uzumaki's participation. Well, in short, the whole mission is like in the anime, that's what's written in the report. Then there were small missions. In Konoha and in front of people from the village, Naruto put on a henge, and on missions with the team he took it off. He didn't show techniques, he fought mainly with a knife. So a month passed, and it was time for the Chunin exam. Commentary on Attack on the Bridge. Sorry for the delay, I had some unplanned things to do. Equals first stage equals. The day before the exam. It was 12 o'clock in the morning. Naruto, under the henge, was standing near the training ground number 7 as well as Sasuke and Sakura. Sensei called them to tell them something important that the genins didn't know. Well, except for Uzumaki, he's always 2 steps ahead of Konoha. During all this time, his teammates hardly talked to him, except on business. But the two of them became very close friends. A few minutes later, Kakashi appeared. Hello, how are you? He greeted as if reading his dirty little book. Hello, the children said, sighing. They were not very pleased that the copyist was late again. The Chunin exam is coming soon, the whole team must participate, I have already suggested you, and whether to go or not is up to you, Hataki said, handing over 3 tickets. Uchiha and Haruno looked at each other, nodded at each other and looked at the blonde, everything depended on him. Why are you silent? Are you not going to take the exam? The fox asked in surprise. Have you fallen out of your mind? Of course I'm going to, I just like their pleading eyes so much, he chuckled in his subconscious. Well, okay, if you ask me that way, then so be it, I'll go, but I won't remove the conspiracy, Namikaze said with a smile and, taking 1 ticket, went to the training ground, near which they were actually standing, and having put up a barrier, his silhouette disappeared, which meant that the technique was a success. When the team could no longer hear or see him, Uzumaki sat down under a tree and, putting his hands behind his head, descended into the subconscious to the fox, where he sat on his head. What do you think about this exam? Kurama said with interest. Well, this is all show and stupidity. Why show all the maps to other villages, and many genin die on them? This is also a good chance to attack the village, everyone will be distracted by this event and you can easily get into the village and if you try hard, destroy it, the blonde put forward his thoughts. What full-scale thoughts for a child? The fox grinned mockingly. Where did you meet kids who did what I did? The guy chuckled. Right. And what are you going to do on this exam? Kurama asked in a bored voice. As always, I'll play the role of a fool and look after the children, Namikaze smiled, remembering his teammates who hardly talked to him. I see. And now what are you going to do? The fox asked, already closing his eyes. I'll train with Kira. There's nothing else to do anyway, said the blonde, emerging from his subconscious. Once in reality, he took out his unusual knife. If you look closely you can see a strange sign on the end of one blade, http://s49.radikal.ru/i124/0904/5f/c02d3285fe79.gif. Having created several clones, Naruto ordered them to attack him, and he himself took the knife more comfortably and, running lightning chakra through it at the clones, manipulating the air and changing the direction of the weapon. So he trained until 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Having hidden the knife, the blonde headed to the Hokage Rock. Walking down the street, people looked at him just like they had all his life. Naruto felt uncomfortable, but he didn't pay attention, he was used to it. Arriving at the place, he sat on the fourth's head, on a stone one, not a real stone one, and took out a black A4 notebook with simple white sheets of paper, without cells or lines. Opening the first page, one could see a red-haired woman with dark green eyes and a man of about 25 years old with blonde hair and bright blue eyes hugging her, very similar to Naruto, or maybe it was he who looked like him. The picture was painted with bright colors and not full length, well, like Mona Lisa, not dim but bright that just glowed. Without turning each page, Uzumaki immediately turned to the last one, on which was drawn a girl his age with gray eyes without a pupil, short hair. She was dressed in a fur sweatshirt with the Hyuga clan crest on her shoulder. She also funny held her index fingers in place. Well, when she sees Uzumaki, she always does this. This picture, like the first one, was also not full length. Having taken out brushes and paints, the blonde began to work, and one could notice that he was adding chakra to the paint. Apparently this is the secret of why it turns out so bright. An hour later the painting was ready. There was also a girl but with black and blue hair, milky eyes, and a beige tracksuit. Namikaze smiled and sealed the paints with a brush and a scroll and closed the notebook. After sitting for another hour and looking at the village, Naruto decided to go home. On the way home, Uzumaki remembered how he was in the village hidden in lightning. Flashback 4 years ago. Now Naruto was heading to a certain village hidden in lightning, as the fox said. This is the homeland of his father who had never been there. Uzumaki was dressed in black shinobi pants, sandals, a mesh t-shirt, a white tracksuit with blue stripes and a hood, and on his face was a white mask with a red sign in the form of a fox above his left eye. He made this mask himself. It consisted entirely of chakra that the blonde had compacted to this state, and the sign is Kurama's chakra, which was kind of sealed in it in large quantities, so to speak, for a rainy day. This mask was very difficult to break and genjutsu did not work if you put it on. Here's a mask winky face. Jumping from tree to tree, Naruto felt some kind of familiar chakra. None of his friends had it, and he headed in that direction. Arriving, before jumping, at the place, Namikaze saw nothing, only an empty clearing, but it is not for nothing that the Uzumaki are called masters of seals and barriers. The blonde immediately noticed that this was a barrier that creates the illusion of an empty space. Dispelling this technique was not a big problem for Naruto, but it was not a piece of cake either. After tinkering for 15 minutes, the barrier was removed. The place of the clearing shimmered and a village appeared, at the entrance of which there were large gates, like in Konoha, and on their arch there was a sign, the same as on Naruto's knife, but what it meant Uzumaki did not know, yet. Having passed through the gate, he noticed that the houses were quite suitable for living, but for some unknown reason there was not a soul here. Just like in the leaf, there was a residence here, although smaller. Naruto decided to go there. Walking along the corridors, Namikaze noticed one strange room, the door to which was slightly open. Entering it, he saw a display case in the middle, in which an unusual knife lay on a stand with a seal. Under the stand was a sign with the inscription Karai, which translates as lightning knife. Looking around, Naruto saw a lot of different weapons, from ordinary kunai and sand bones to scythes and hammers. As you may have guessed, this is the village of lightning and the Namikaze clan. This clan broke up due to differences in views. Some said that it would be better to become one of the clans of the Land of Fire, while others said that they would not be allies with Konoha, because you can't keep your back open there, otherwise someone will quietly pass by with a kunai and poke you once. And because of their quarrel, they were not careful and died one after another on missions. That's how they disappeared. There are very few people left from this clan. And the knife in the display case is a clan relic. A good thing, only clan members can take it. I advise you to take it with a couple thousand kunai and shuriken. And you can also read their library. There is a lot of interesting and useful stuff there. The fox enlightened his friend. Hee, looks like I'll be staying here for a month, Naruto said with a smile. End of flashback. Returning home, he sat on the bed, took out the karali, and began to sharpen it. He looked after the knife very well, cleaned, sharpened, and wiped it every day. Having finished with the weapon, Uzumaki went to the kitchen. He cooked himself and quite well. He knew many different recipes, so he did not eat the same thing every day. He went to Ichiraku only after the mission. In the refrigerator there was some Japanese rice he had recently cooked. After eating, the blonde headed to the Hokage's residence. Having quietly made his way into the archive, he found a list of all the genin who would be present at the exam. Having copied the document, he also quietly got out of the residence's archive. When Uzumaki returned home, he studied the list in detail, and then went to bed. A new day. Today the blonde and his team need to be at the first stage, like the others. The exam was written and was held in one of the classrooms of the Shinobi Academy. Or more precisely on the 3rd floor in room 302. Waking up, Naruto quickly had breakfast and using henge, headed to the academy. Approaching the courtyard of the academy, he saw Sakura and Sasuke and ran to them. "Hello!" The blonde greeted, especially loudly and positively, for the sake of those around him. "Hello," the genin said in unison and somewhat sluggishly. "Okay, let's go, otherwise we'll be late," Uzumaki said and went into the building, and his teammates followed him. As they walked up the steps, the team noticed a large gathering outside room number 302. "We should probably go this way," Haruno said and was about to go in that direction when Namikaze stopped her. "How are you going to become a chunin if you can't recognize such a light genjutsu?" Naruto said with a sigh. "What?" The pink-haired girl didn't understand, because 302 was written on the door, and that's where they needed to go. The blonde sighed again, but this time with irritation, and after making a couple of seals, he took Sakura's hand. Some kind of sparkle occurred in Haruno's eyes, and looking at the door she saw a completely different number, then looked at her teammate in surprise. "What are you looking at?" "I told you," letting go of her hand, he went further up the stairs. Shrugging his shoulders, the genins followed him, and the fools remained on the second floor, waiting for something incomprehensible. When the team went up to the third floor, they saw 3 teams from Konoha, 2 from Sound, 1 from Sand, 1 from Rain and several from small villages. Having greeted teams 8, 9, and 10, they stood near the wall and waited for the examiner. Without wasting time, Naruto studied everyone present, or rather, checked the information he read on the list. He knew the genin from his village from A to Z, half of the guests were weaklings and show-offs, the Sound teams were alarming, especially the gray-haired bespectacled guy with a ponytail, who said that he had been taking the exam for the 7th time, and something incomprehensible it with black long straight, even some kind of slimy hair and a straw hat. Soon the examiner appeared with 2 scars on his face and a black leather coat. Behind him were 5 chunin with sheets of paper and pens in their hands. "Hello, I am your examiner for this stage, my name is Ibiki Marino," he said in a menacing voice. "Please enter the auditorium and take your seats." Everyone did as he said without any questions. They were already afraid of him, of course, unlike Uzumaki with Uchiha and the 5 serious genin. When everyone sat down, Ibiki began to tell the rules of the exam. Let's skip this moment, everyone already knows. "Is everything clear to everyone?" asked the examiner. Why yes, this speech made the genins feel uneasy. And the exam began. As Naruto could notice, the questions were definitely not for genin, and since he was far from stupid, he immediately understood what the real essence of this exam was. Having seated a chunin among them, Marino checks how genin can collect information and pass it on to their teammates, because this factor is very important for ninja. Uzumaki knew the answers to these questions, and looking at his comrades, he realized that they did not know. Therefore, he decided to use one of his techniques, which they did not know about, as well as about all the others. Having waited for the moment when Sakura turned to face him and looked into his eyes, he used a technique that creates a mental connection. His eyes glowed blue like the pink-haired one and then went out. Haruno remained in a stupor. He carried out the same procedure with Sasuke. "Well, can you hear me?" A rather familiar voice sounded in the heads of Uchiha and Haruno. It was as if they were struck by electricity. KH, the blonde reminded himself, just speak in your mind. "Like this?" asked Haruno. "Yeah. It's one of my techniques," Namikaze explained. "I see, and why did you do it?" Sasuke said. "Well, of course, I can see that you don't know anything," Uzumaki chuckled. "What do you know?" Sakura asked, not believing. "You're insulting me." "Just a second," Naruto said. And his eyes glowed blue again. The answers were already written on the sheet, so he just looked at them. The image was transferred to Sakura and Sasuke's eyes. Having figured it out, they began to write, and the blonde decided to talk. "Have you even figured out what this stage is for?" he asked casually. "I think so. This is to check how we can collect information, pass it on to each other and what kind of teamwork we have," Sasuke said his guess. "That's right, and the answers to the questions are not mandatory, the main thing is 10, it will definitely be a test," he warned them. Sasuke-kun is so cool, he immediately figured out what was going on. Haruno began to debate as always. And Naruto just sighed. After 10 minutes the time was up and it was time for question 10. "So, now I will ask the last, 10th question, But I want to warn you, those who answer it incorrectly will fail the exam and will never become Chunin again. Those who are afraid that they will not be able to answer can raise their hand and leave, and retake it next year, but those who do this take their team with them, warned Marino. All the genin became worried and started talking. After 2 minutes, the shinobi started raising their hands and leaving the office one by one. So exactly half of the audience remained. Well then. Congratulations, you've gone to the first stage of the Chunin exam. Ibiki happily announced. The genins blinked in surprise, and realizing what this meant, they sighed with relief, and Naruto looked at his comrades. In his eyes one could see thoughts like, well, I told you, what did you eat? The window broke and a kunoichi with black hair tied in a strange ponytail flew into the classroom. The kunoichi was about 27 years old. She was dressed in a beige cloak, resembling a coat, a mesh t-shirt and a skirt. Along with her, some black rag flew out, which, like a poster, covered Ibiki and the Chunin who came with him. Hello children. I am Mitarashi Anko, your examiner for the second stage, the girl said in a crazy voice. Which will take place in the Forest of Death. I will expect you there in an hour. Having said all this, she disappeared with the pop of a white cloud. Oh, why are we so unlucky with the examiners? Naruto said doomedly. When Sakura and Sasuke finished writing the answers, Naruto cancelled the technique. The teammates nodded. 5 minutes later the class was empty. Everyone went to the designated place. Nothing unusual happened during this time. And so, everyone gathered, and now they were waiting for Anko to start explaining the rules of the second stage. Commentary on stage 1. Finally finished writing. Start of the second stage The genin stood near the Forest of Death and waited for the examiner to begin explaining the rules of the stage. Well, children, the second stage of Chunin will be hellish for you. You will be given one scroll. It will be either earth or sky. Your task is to take the scroll opposite to yours. Having received it, you need to get to the tower in the center of the forest within 5 days. Enemy teams are not the only danger. There are many wild animals in the forest who will gladly dine today, Anko said with a smile. The genin swallowed and began to discuss the stage in whispers. Only Naruto and Sasuke were not frightened by this speech. And yes, you also need to fill out forms confirming that Konoha is not responsible for your lives, Mitarashi said with a cheerful smile. The genin swallowed again and went to sign the documents. Having finished with the waste paper, the teams headed to their gates. Team number 7 stood near the gate under the same number. They had a scroll of the sky. In 10 minutes the gates would open, and the test would begin. So, what's our plan? Uchiha asked, puzzled. Although, it seems to me that there's nothing to think about here, we just need to take the scroll and get to the tower. That's true, but first we need to find a team that has an earth scroll, and it's not a fact that they will be weak. Moreover, Anko-san warned that there are many other dangers in the forest. Naruto said, putting his hands in his pockets. And what do you suggest? Haruno said skeptically, pouting. Me? At this stage I'll have to show a lot of my abilities, the blonde said with annoyance. Oh well, plan, well first we need to find out the location of each team, which one has the earth scroll, and having developed a strategy, take it away. Well, I agree, but how are we going to find all the teams? Even if we use clones, it will take at least 2 hours, the territory is not small, Sasuke said sullenly. Damn, I'll have to use my ability, which I didn't really want to show, Namikaze said, slapping his hand on his forehead. What ability? The genins asked in unison. You'll find out now, the blonde's eyes sparkled with a sly light. Huh? Before Sakura could say a word, a click was heard. Looking at the gate, they saw the lock lying on the grass. Then everyone heard a terrible, screaming sound, reminiscent of the one you might hear during an evacuation. It was the signal to start the exam. All the teams rushed into the forest. But our 3 were in no hurry, they ran 20 meters from the gate and stopped. So, now I'm using one technique, and I'm going to look for the teams, they haven't gone far, I'm sure. And you stand here and wait for me, be on the alert, as Anko-san warned, there are many predators in this forest. Is that clear? Namikaze gave the order. Yes, Sakura and Sasuke said at the same time. Naruto formed a concentration seal, and soft red chakra began to appear around him. Enveloping him completely, the chakra glowed brightly, which blinded the brunette and the pink-haired girl. When the light died down, Uchiha and Haruno saw a small blonde ladder, with long ears, blue eyes, and a fluffy tail. Haruno began to squeeze him, but the fox bared his snow-white fangs, thus causing her friend to freeze with an expression of shock, fear, and surprise. "What kind of technique is this?" Sasuke asked in surprise. "Well, it's not a technique at all, it's my special ability. I made a contract with Kurama, so to speak. It was exactly a ritual that connected our souls. Also, my hearing, smell, and vision improved several times," the fox grinned. Even though he was in the form of an animal, he could speak. "Holy shit, you can even talk?" Sasuke clearly didn't expect this turn of events. "Don't be stupid. I told you," the blonde reproached him. "Okay, I'm going." Having said this, Uzumaki jumped onto a branch of one of the 1,000 trees in the forest. After he stopped, he said the name of the technique. Then, 20 animals like himself appeared near him. At the same time, the yellow squad disappeared into the foliage of the trees, leaving the two stunned genin alone. Sasuke decided to break the silence. So what? Are we just going to stand here?" snorted Uchiha. "How can we help? After all, we don't have a high level in searching. And I think Naruto won't take the scroll alone. We are a team after all, and we should help each other, no matter what." Sasuke was very surprised to hear this from a hysterical woman who always puts in her 2 cents in a conversation, not knowing what it was about. "Probably," Uchiha chuckled, not showing his surprise. Further on, there was silence in the air. Meanwhile, the little yellow ladder jumped from branch to branch towards the sand team. "That aura, it's definitely a Maden Shikaku Jinchuriki. But it's none of my business. He has 2 close people who are worried about him and won't let anyone hurt him." After thinking about it, he decided not to interfere and changed direction. Uzumaki stopped when he saw Team 10 from Konoha in an open clearing. The genin were sitting near a rock, Choji was eating his eternal chips, Ino was shaking off forest trash, and Shikamaru, what about Shikamaru? He was dozing carefree, leaning against a rock. It was very unwise for them to go out into an open clearing in such a relaxed state. "I won't pass this exam with the abilities of my idiot image, phew. Well, finally I can take off this idiotic mask." Smiling at his thoughts, Naruto turned into his normal appearance. Human, without henge, and jumping off the branch calmly headed towards Team 10. Noticing the unknown shinobi, the trio jumped up from their seats and prepared for battle. But this unknown did not even think of attacking. Stopping 5 meters from the genin, the guy put his hands in his pockets, sighed resignedly and rolled his eyes. "Do you really think you can defeat me?" the blonde said with feigned surprise. "Don't underestimate us," shouted a girl, similar in appearance to Uzumaki. Blonde hair tied in a ponytail, blue eyes, but that's all she had in common with him. "And who are you anyway? I never saw you during the entire Chunin exam, although I carefully studied all the participants. Unless, of course, you used henge." These words were spoken by one of the Nara clan, people in which are considered far from stupid. He had a strange hairstyle, somewhat reminiscent of a pineapple. "You think correctly, but I'm from Konoha, and I won't attack you. I wanted to give you some advice. You shouldn't make a stop in an open space, it's dangerous, you know," the blonde said, narrowing his eyes. "Oh, right, we didn't think of that, thank you. And since you're not going to kill us, maybe you could tell me your name?" asked the plump guy, who was from the Akimichi clan, still eating chips. "No name, but I can give you a hint. Under the henge, my appearance doesn't change much," the blue-eyed man said with a grin. "Well, okay, see you Ino Shikacho." After these words, he flickered and disappeared. The trio remained in deep thought. Nara immediately had some guesses about this shinobi. Naruto found himself 15 meters away from Team 10 in the foliage of one of the trees, which had the seal of the Thunder God. "An hour has passed since the search began. I think it's time to dispel the clones." After this thought, Namikaze folded a seal, canceling the technique. With the disappearance of Naruto's copies, everything that they saw, heard, and did was transmitted. As it turned out, exactly half of the teams remained, the rest were either killed by enemies or wild animals. One detail alerted the blonde. Namely, the fact that the team from the sound was not in full force. That it was not there, where he or she went is not clear, but something told Naruto that he needed to hurry to Sasuke and Sakura, otherwise something bad would happen. Therefore, Uzumaki rushed towards them at full speed. At the same time, Sasuke and Sakura. It's boring, how long will he last? Someone will attack us, the pink-haired girl was nervous. Calm down. I'm tired of your whining, the brunette responded coldly. Haruno frowned and turned away. But, Sakura was cut off by a kunai flying straight at her head. It was lucky that Sasuke managed to push his teammate away. Well, the last of the Uchiha, SSS, Sasukuan, said that same it from the village of Sound, standing on a tree branch. Come on. That's all we need. The brunette said with annoyance. Commentary on the beginning of the second stage. I know, it's not enough, but I hope you liked it and please leave comments. Skirmish In front of the two genin stood a humanoid creature of indeterminate gender wearing a straw hat. Looking into its eyes, the pink-haired girl and the brunette were overcome with terrible horror, for some unknown reason. They felt like victims, scared rabbits cornered, facing inevitable death from a bloodthirsty predator. They couldn't move, they were overcome with trembling. And it grinned, anticipating fun. You are just snotty children who have not seen all the causticity of this world. You call yourselves shinobi, but you can't even stand firm in front of an opponent. You are pathetic, snake, as the genin dubbed him, because of the long tongue with which he managed to lick the kunai, and his lisping manner of speech. He said this with such contempt, disgust and smirking malice that Sakura and Sasuke wanted to bury themselves in place, just not to see those terrible eyes, although Orochi has a long way to go to train before Naruto. Damn it, and Naruto, where are you? Uchiha said in a trembling voice. Sakura was not in this reality at all. SSSS, I think I should introduce myself. My name is Orochimaru, I am one of the legendary Sannin of Konoha. They call me the Snake Sannin. I came here to give you power, you want to take revenge on your brother, right? But you lack this power. Am I right, Sasuke-kun? The Sannin said, licking his lips with a disgusting long tongue. Uchiha hesitated, what this man said was true. He really wanted to take revenge on Itachi, he really had no strength at all. But he couldn't trust a Class S criminal, that was for sure. Let's say, but how would you benefit? You're not doing this out of the kindness of your heart, it was more of a statement than a question. Sasuke barely suppressed this fortunate feeling of fear. As expected from the Uchiha. You're right, I'm not doing this for nothing. Someday you'll come to me for even more power than you're getting now. Immediately after finishing these words, Orochimaru folded several seals, and his neck lengthened inhumanly and became similar to the body of a snake. Afterwards, the head moved towards Sasuke with great speed, who was somewhat shocked by what he saw. Lightning fast, Sannin's fangs sank into the brunette's neck, and after a couple of seconds, releasing the genin, the head returned to its original position. And on Sasuke's neck, near the bite marks, black tomo, and some other symbols unknown to the genin began to appear. The Uchiha screamed from the unbearable pain that gripped him, but then he passed out. Well, I've done my job. Sasuke-kun will come to me himself, Sannin hissed, licking his fangs from the Uchiha's blood. There's nothing more for me to do here. Orochimaru was about to leave, but it was not to be. A 3-petal kunai flew a couple of meters from Santa and stuck into a nearby tree branch. 10 minutes early. A guy in a white tracksuit with blue stripes on it moved through the trees at great speed. Ku, do you feel it too? Naruto asked his inner friend. Yeah, such a thirst for blood, oppressive, endless, terrible aura. And not like Gaara, only this nasty snake can have such a thing. Oh, well, now I have a serious fight. I need to practice my skills, the blonde said with a sinister grin. Naruto had already reached the place of the skirmish. Orochimaru offered Sasuke power, but he refused and Sannin put some kind of seal on him. A 3-petal kunai stuck into the branch, then a blonde guy with blue eyes appeared next to him. For a second, Sanan was taken aback. This guy looked very similar to the fourth, except for the age difference. "Who are you anyway?" Sanan asked, squinting. "What difference does it make?" "I won't let you go, at least you won't be able to leave in one piece," Uzumaki said menacingly. "Do you have enough strength?" The shinobi laughed. "That's what I want to know," he said, taking out his sword Kurai. It's been a while since I had fun," Sanan grinned, and opening his mouth, a snake's head appeared from it. It also opened its mouth, in which was the handle of some katana. Orochimaru pulled the sword out of its sheath and prepared for fun. You have an interesting weapon. I want to check which is stronger, my kusanagi or your sword. But I don't think you can even scratch me," Orochimaru chuckled. It seemed that he had a hard time believing that the genin could get the upper hand over him. The blonde didn't answer, he just pulled out a kunai with a seal on the handle and threw it towards Sanan. Before it reached the enemy, the weapon glowed and disintegrated into thousands of the same kunai. They scattered all over the battlefield, sticking into everything that was there. Orochimaru frowned, he remembered this technique. The technique of the 4th Hokage Hiroshin. With its help, the 4th won the 3rd Shinobi World War. Because of this technique he was nicknamed the Yellow Lightning of Konoha. But Naruto was in no hurry to use the kunai, he simply jumped from the branch to the ground and took a fighting stance, putting his sword forward and holding it vertically with both hands. Orochimaru bared his teeth and, also jumping off the branch, rushed towards the guy. A sword fight broke out between the two shinobi. They fought equally, Naruto was even winning. Thanks to his quick reaction, he easily dodged the Sanan's flexible blows, and thanks to his speed, he could quickly counterattack. The fight continued, and in the meantime Sakura came to her senses from Sanan's technique, and looked around. She did not immediately understand what was happening. But seeing Sasuke lying unconscious, with a bloody bite on his neck, she immediately rushed to him. After checking if the guy was alive, Haruno quickly took the Uchiha on her shoulders, what a strong woman, and safely got away as far as possible from the place of the fight. "I hope Naruto can handle him, otherwise we'll be in trouble." "Oh, a good tree to take cover in," Sakura thought out loud, seeing a fairly large tree with an empty interior that formed a good cave. Entering the shelter, Haruno put Sasuke down and took out her first aid kit, which, as a future Iririn, she always carried with her. Then she disinfected the wound on his neck and checked his temperature, which was simply beyond the limit. The Uchiha should have turned into coal by now. Sakura didn't know how to bring down the temperature anymore, so she just changed the compress, hoping for help from Naruto, who was currently up to his ears in problems. Part 12 The sword fight had been going on for quite some time. The shinobi were exhausted. "This guy isn't bad. I would have already dissected any other shinobi in the lab," Sanan noted to himself. Orochimaru slipped past the blonde and was about to cut him from behind, but Uzumaki blocked him with his weapon in time. Damn, time to move on to the heavy artillery. The genin was tired of these sparks emanating from the deflecting blades. Kusanagi began to slide to the side along the blade, intending to knock the weapon out of the blonde's hands and finally rip open his neck. Naruto noticed the katana's intentions and did not wait for this unpleasant scene. With a sharp movement, the blue-eyed man pulled Kurai to the side, out of the three with Kusanagi, and he himself jumped back lightning fast, about 15 meters. This maneuver was not without casualties. Orochimaru still managed to hit Naruto on the shoulder. The wound was bleeding heavily, apparently an artery was cut. But Uzumaki did not pay attention to such a trifle. Now there was a more important problem. "And how long will this continue? Maybe I should give you the power that I gave to Sasuke-kun?" Sanan said smiling. "I think I'll refuse. It's a shame." "It would have been a good experiment," Oryx said with disappointment. "Maybe, but I'm not a fan of this kind of thing." Having said this, Naruto made a couple of seals, and the fishing line that was tied to the handle of the knife wrapped around his wrist with such force that small drops of blood were visible from under it, and the blade darkened, acquiring some kind of burgundy hue. Uzumaki winced slightly and rushed towards Sanan. He got on all fours and opened his mouth wide, beyond human comprehension, from which a stream of thousands, a million snakes gushed. All of them were rushing towards the Jinchuriki. Karai, blood needles. Having pronounced the name of the technique, the blonde swung the knife from which blood sprayed in needles onto the snakes. As soon as the first needle hit the snake, an explosion occurred, which fried another 10 crawlers. The first needle was followed by the others, bringing a series of explosions in their wake. The smoke disappeared, as did the snakes. Damn it. Well then. Kuchios no Jutsu, Kaidaija. Biting his finger until it bled, Orochimaru made the necessary seals and a huge snake, sand-colored, appeared under him. Realizing where this was going, Uzumaki placed a chakra-hiding barrier around the battlefield. Well, what shall we try? The blonde said excitedly. Yeah, I've wanted to for a long time, the fox said with a grin. Boy, you still have a chance to stop and stay alive, Sanan licked his lips. Who else among us has a chance to escape? Naruto smirked and hid Karai. Huh? Are you that confident or have you already resigned yourself to death? No, Namikaze lifted his shirt, exposing his stomach, where there was a spiral seal with hieroglyphs in a circle. He'll just get in my way. Taking a swipe of blood from the wound on his shoulder, he crossed out several symbols on the seal, which had become slightly lighter. What is he doing? Is this boy really capable of changing the properties of a technique of this level? We can't let him finish this. Orochimaru thought. Without waiting for the blonde to finish this action, Orochimaru ordered the snake to attack the boy. Hurry up, the fox reminded. Yes, I know. My father's seal is more complicated than a Rubik's Cube, the blonde snorted in response. After changing the compress, Sakura decided to leave the cave and check how her partner was doing. Coming out of hiding, she saw a huge snake rushing at the blonde and opening its mouth was ready to swallow the guy, but suddenly there was a blue-white explosion of smoke. Haruno's breath caught. She understood that if now, when the smoke cleared, only Orochimaru and his snake were there, she and Sasuke-kun would not live. Growling. RRR. And then, the smoke finally cleared and the pink-haired girl saw a light red fox, slightly larger than the snake, standing on its hind legs, holding the snake's mouth with its front legs, baring its teeth. On the head of the beast stood Naruto himself. This is the Ninetales? Orochimaru was a little taken aback by this, but without losing his composure, Sanan continued to attack, putting his hand forward. Snakes began to crawl out of the sleeve, intending to tear the boy's flesh, biting into him with sharp fangs. But this did not happen. Uzumaki cut them down. Karai. Whoosh! It's been a long time since I've been out into the normal world. The fox rejoiced. Yeah. Listen, let's get this over with already. The blonde said, putting his palms to Kyuubi's head. Yes, Kurama threw the snake away and, still standing on his hind legs, raised his head up. Opened a fanged mouth, above which a bright white cloud of energy began to form, which began to flatten, forming something like 4 blades from a shuriken, becoming smaller and smaller and spinning. Having brought the technique to a critical state, Fox threw a shuriken at the Nuke-nin. Not good. This is compressed chakra with added wind element. If such a technique hits me, it is not a fact that I will survive at all, it is unlikely that I will have time to dodge, the radius of destruction will be quite large. It is a shame to admit that such a brat drove me into a corner. Quickly putting together a series of seals, Orochimaru crawled, there is no other way to call it, into the snake's mouth. It slammed its mouth shut and did not move at all. As soon as the cloud of chakra caught up with the enemy, a huge explosion thundered, to which, if not for the barrier, all the shinobi would have run, since an ordinary genin could not know a technique of such a scale. Fortunately, Sakura managed to hide in a tree, since the wood chips and the trees themselves. They probably wouldn't have left a trace of the pink-haired kunoichi. When the smoke cleared again, Haruno came out again to find out the outcome of the battle. A 9-tailed fox sat in the middle of the wood, earth and rocks, and her beloved partner stood next to him. Kurama, come back. Uzumaki commanded his furry red friend. Yes, my lord. The fox answered sarcastically, and carried out his master's order. At this point Sakura arrived. How's Sasuke? The guy asked. The high fever doesn't go down, but there are no serious injuries, the pink-haired girl answered, but then noticed a deep wound on her teammate's shoulder, Your wound, let me bandage it?" Naruto was a little taken aback by such a proposal from Haruno, and looking at his wound he realized that it shouldn't be surprising. The wound was quite deep and the blood still didn't stop flowing, although not as much as before. "Okay. But let's find a better place to stop. It's dangerous here," Uzumaki said with a barely noticeable smile. Haruno just nodded and walked towards the unconscious Uchiha. Oh. I see the ice of rejection is starting to melt. Uzumaki Namikaze Naruto, you're making progress. Kurama put in his 2 cents. "Shut up, Fox. She was just showing her gratitude, nothing more." "Shy," the fox muttered mockingly. PFF. Without saying anything in response to Kurama, Naruto followed Sakura. Entering the cave he saw Uchiha lying with a compress on his forehead. Sasuke was breathing heavily, and next to him sat the pink-haired girl on her knees. It was clear from her eyes that she was very worried about the last of the Uchiha clan. Noticing her partner, she took her first aid kit and waved her hand to the blonde so that he sat in front of her. "First I'll bandage your wound, then we'll look for a place to rest, otherwise it won't take long and you might get an infection," the kunoichi said with an important look. Realizing that arguing was useless, the guy obediently sat down opposite Sakura and took off his t-shirt, which was half covered in blood. Having placed a small bowl of water next to her, where did she get it from? Haruno wet a towel and began to clean the cut. "Oi, 3. And what did you think about being touched by a baby's bottom?" the fox added mockingly. "That wouldn't be bad." Naruto imagined what tender sensations those must be. "Sorry," the kunoichi quietly apologized for this act, put aside the boat with the towel and took out a branch, alcohol and a bandage from the first aid kit. "It's going to bake now." Having warned her partner, Sakura began to disinfect the injury. "Shh. Only the blue-eyed one hissed. "Ku, you always healed all my wounds quickly. Why couldn't you heal this one?" "I'm not sure, but I think it's because of Kusunagi's katana. It filled your wound with poison, which prevents my chakra from healing you. So, you'll have to lick it for weeks just like normal people." "That's it. Now just bandage it." Putting aside the cotton wool and alcohol, Haruno took the bandage and started bandaging. "Sakura-chan, you and Uchiha have barely spoken to me since that mission in the Land of Waves. You've been avoiding me, although I understand why. You think I'm a murderer. I'm not going to convince you of anything, but I don't kill my friends." "Are you saying we're your friends?" the kunoichi asked in surprise. "Well, I'm team member number 7, I think we should at least maintain friendly relations, because otherwise there can be no talk of teamwork." "Uzumaki, you're making the right moves," Kyubi added jokingly. "That's it, you'll just need to change the bandage in a few hours," Sakura said, tying a double knot in the bandage. "Yes, I also thought that everyone in the team should be united, but honestly, you're scaring me. I scare almost the entire village with my mere presence. The villagers are ready to tear me apart, just give them free rein. But despite this, I want to protect this village, the village hidden in the leaves." Naruto said sadly, "Oh well. I'll take Uchiha and we'll go to the tower." "What about the scroll?" The kunoichi perked up. "I have him," the blonde said, taking a scroll with the hieroglyph earth from his pouch and lifting the unconscious Uchiha onto his back. "When are you?" "Stole it from Oric while we were fighting in close combat," the guy said with a satisfied grin. "Uzumaki, you surprise me. To fight a rank S missing nin, and even manage to steal. Is something wrong with him?" With this good news the pink-haired girl's mood improved. "It's all my fox nature," muttered the blue-eyed man. "Well, let's go. We've already spent too much time here." Uzumaki made a seal unknown to the girl. A greenish dome flickered around the battlefield and then disappeared. Having grabbed the brunette more comfortably, Naruto and Sakura moved towards the tower in the center of the forest. Not far from the forest of death. Near the river lay a huge, severed head of a snake. Then its mouth began to open. Something vaguely resembling a human crawled out. It was all in mucus mixed with blood, and its limbs were unnaturally twisted. The neck was 70 centimeters longer than that of an ordinary human. KGH. Damn offspring of the 4th. Oh well. I gave Sasuke-kun P power. he will definitely return to me for even more. 5 years after the Ninetales attack on Konoha. It was a normal, serene evening in Konoha. Children were begging their parents for money for sweets, and some shinobi were going out for a drink after a successful mission. Everything seemed fine, but not for a 5-year-old boy with blonde hair and blue eyes, who was chased into an empty alley by 3 drunk shinobi. Naruto was hated by the entire village from the moment he was born. The boy didn't understand why he was beaten half to death almost every day. Why he was called a monster and a demon. He didn't even